I just don't sense the excitement that Tennessee should have after beating Alabama and Florida in consecutive weeks. And let me get to that right now. It's today's tough question, and it's brought to you by Banks and Jones.
Today's tough question. Take a side. Take a stand. The Dave Hooker Show, a presentation of OffTheHookSports.com.
Colton, I agree with you there. I see you. All right. Any super chats you want to throw in there goes to Quincy Calhoun's college fund, but you may not want to contribute to that fund after I rail for a second on some Tennessee fans that aren't as educated as our fans. Our fans are like the Ivy League of fans. That's why we love them, and we love you hitting that thumbs up button. But being in Knoxville and being around Tennessee fans, it is befuddling to me that there is not a greater sense of excitement about what this team has done. Forget about what they may do and make the college football playoff. Perhaps Nico hasn't turned a corner. Perhaps Nico is average. Perhaps Kentucky out-physicals Tennessee like they did Ole Miss. Perhaps Vanderbilt even surprises the Vols. Perhaps Georgia beats Tennessee like most people think they should. But take part in the poll question if you don't mind. Are Tennessee's fans' expectations too high? Yes, the Vols just beat Bama and Florida. Celebrate that. Or no, they should have beaten them. I'm in the minority, 3-1 right now. But I think what you just witnessed, regardless of what happens, is legendary because you beat two rivals back to back. I'm well aware that Florida isn't the Steve Spurrier Florida back in the day. I'm well aware that Nick Saban's on TV and not on the sidelines. But Caleb, that is still two teams that have given you fits for different reasons. It seems like Tennessee was better than Florida half the times they played them over the past 15 years, or at least as good, but they didn't get the result most oftentimes that they wanted. Alabama's been Alabama, and I know they have a lot of transfers, but that's still a very talented roster. I just don't feel like, and I'm preaching here for a second, so bear with me. I just don't feel like Tennessee fans realize how far this program has come in just a couple of years. And the fact that Caleb Calhoun and I are talking about Josh Heupel being one of the most coveted coaches. Nobody said that about Butch Jones, Derek Dooley, Jeremy Pruitt. Tennessee is in a whole different realm here. And Caleb, no matter what happens the rest of the season, I'm not saying it's a success if Tennessee stumbles and loses 2 games down the stretch, but I'm here to tell you right now, and you pointed this out, they're one running into the punter play away from being undefeated and the top team in the nation, debatably. So what's going on? And I want to hear from you on the chat board specifically as to fans around you. Are they happy about what Tennessee did? Because it seems like around Knoxville that Tennessee's fan base was happy for a couple of hours on Sunday, and then it was just back to business, which I get if you didn't have a bye week. But there's a bye week. This team should be celebrated for what it's done, and I just don't get that feel from the public, Caleb, and that's troubling to me. Enjoy the good times. You've had to put up with too much.
You're right, and this is battered Vol syndrome kicking in, because I can tell you this. We had Philip Fulmer on yesterday. During Philip Fulmer's peak, I mean at the peak of his career, Dave, and you were covering Tennessee during that time. It's not like they didn't have to squeak by to beat some teams that they should have beaten by quite a few points, right?
Correct.
And did anybody care, or did they say, oh, that was a thrilling SEC game? They said that was a thrilling SEC game. To give you guys an example, 2003, Tennessee beat Florida and Alabama that year on the road. I don't know if they, I don't know. Well, 2001, they beat Florida and Alabama on the road too. But yeah, 2003, they beat Florida and Alabama on the road. Dave, that was a bad Alabama team. That was Mike Shula's first team, all the aftermath of the probation, and Alabama was 4-9 that year. Tennessee needed 5 overtimes to beat Alabama. Nobody walked away from that game saying, oh, Tennessee's in serious trouble, struggling with a bad Alabama team. What they said was, what a thrilling chapter in this epic rivalry. A 5 overtime game and Tennessee wins. And everybody freaked out, and then 2 weeks later, they go and beat Miami at Miami. So obviously, it wasn't anything to worry about. Guys, we say this all. I don't know. One, in college football, there's more parity now than ever before, so it's much easier to pull upsets. Two, I don't know if you guys saw Florida last week, but Florida is a much better team, and when they faced Tennessee, they were a much better team than the team we saw get draxed by Miami at the beginning of the year. Three, and this is the most important thing, they're rivalry games. Teams will you throw out records on this. Do you think Alabama cares that they needed a 4th and goal from the 135-yard line last year to beat Auburn? And that was a bad Auburn team.
No,
so,
and Caleb, I'll give you this too. And it was posted on the message board by Smoky Mountain Red. We're strutting around. I'm cool with that. I'm cool with being competent, but it's some of the fans that are out there that are still like, I don't know what happened with Arkansas, and they won ugly, which I don't think it was ugly at Oklahoma. I thought it was beautiful football. And they had a struggle to beat Alabama and Florida. I mean, if that's where you are year in and year out, then you are going to win a national title. You are knocking on the door this year. You were knocking on the door in 2022, if not for the Jeremy Banks fiasco and what happened in Columbia and Hendon Hooker getting hurt. This is what you want to be. And Caleb pointed out yesterday, Alabama's great teams that won, 7 championships, only went undefeated twice.
And one of those was a COVID year.
Yeah, losses happen. Close games happen. That's a fact.
Absolutely. And here's what I think this is about. And maybe I can accept some blame for this, guys, is maybe I got you guys a little too hyped. I'm not going to pretend that I'm not wrong about how Tennessee is 6-1 right now, because one, I thought they'd be 7-0, but how I thought they'd get there, I thought was going to be Nico Iamaleava. I think there was so much excitement about the special play of Nico Iamaleava that when the drop-off happened in Power 5 football, I think people got a little deflated. And I think there's a level of excitement of not only would Tennessee win, but they'd win exciting. And truth be told, they haven't won exciting. They've been winning in some ugly football. And you guys are right. I've seen people on the message boards. But to the point of like anything can happen, that's true. Liberty was in the college football playoff race as the group of 5 team. They were undefeated. They play 0-5 Kennesaw State, who I don't even think is Division I, and they lose last night. I mean, it's college football. Crazy stuff happens.
It does. Okay, so let me give you this as a reason why you should celebrate. And don't celebrate on Sunday. Then it's time to move forward as a fan base. And we're not going to talk about celebrating on Monday as we join you live each and every weekday at 10 a.m. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. So I've got 7 different coaching beginnings. I got Kirby at Georgia. I got Saban at Alabama. I got Saban at LSU. I got Harbaugh at Michigan. I got Urban Meyer at Florida, James Franklin at Penn State, and Dabo Swinney at Clemson. Josh Heupel is 33-13 in his 46 games, which, considering where Tennessee was, is pretty impressive on its own. Now, Caleb, absolutely, I'm going to share with you where he stands among those other coaches and their origins at those individual programs, and it stacks up quite favorably. The show represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, banksandjones.com. Why Banks & Jones? Well, it's because they're Tennessee's trial attorney. You can play to win with Banks & Jones because they'll go to trial. You've heard of other lawyers. They say they'll go to trial and fight for you. They won't. They just want to settle. That's the easiest way out. Well, that's not Banks & Jones, led by T. Scott Jones. They won't settle. They'll go to trial for you. Tennessee's trial attorney. They play to win. Truly, Tennessee's trial attorney when it comes to criminal defense or personal injury. Why settle? It's Banks & Jones. T. Scott Jones. Banks. Okay, so Derek says take away the first season, then look at the numbers. No, don't even have to do that. I put them in the message board. It's still darn impressive. You should celebrate this. Josh Heupel is 33-13 in his first 46 games at Tennessee. Kirby Smart was better, 36-10. However, would you and I both agree with no transfer portal and a pretty good roster from Mark Richt that was only missing the big uglies, that he had a much easier job than Heupel, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Oh,
I mean, he was basically 5 or 6 big uglies away from competing for championships when he walked in the door.
1,000% agree. No,
okay.
1,000% agree. I mean, I don't even think there's a debate on that.
Nick Saban, best coach ever, right?
Correct.
38-8 at Alabama. So that's better. I'll give you that. But what about Nick Saban at LSU? First time in a big-time program, so much more comparable to Heupel. The exact record, 33-13. Jim Harbaugh at Michigan through 46 games, 34-12. He won a national championship. Urban Meyer's Florida Felons, 37-9. Again, that program was better set to win right away than Tennessee was. James Franklin at Penn State, 31-15. Plays nobody in the Big Ten other than Ohio State and Michigan. Dabo Swinney. People forget the term Clemsoning. Do you remember the term Clemsoning, Caleb?
I actually do not remember the term Clemsoning. But
Clemsoning was losing big games. That's what Clemson. Oh, they went out there and Clemson that game. It really bothered Dabo Swinney. Why? Because he was 29-17 in his first 46 games. Again, Josh Heupel is 33-13. So I'll leave you with this. Tennessee fans, enjoy what just happened over the past week, especially with a bye week. Know that you're going to compete for championships. And if it's not this year because Nico's not as advanced as we thought, or there's still holes on the offensive tackle, at offensive tackle, it doesn't mean it can't happen in 2025, 2026. And in all likelihood, based off of those numbers, Tennessee will keep knocking on the door and eventually win a championship.
No, yeah, that's true. I think in college football there's what I call, Dave, and it's I guess you could call it the curse of the second year. And what I mean by that is, I think you and I both agree. I think most people who have studied the history of college football, you usually can tell how a coach is going to be if they're going to work out after their second year. At least you know if they're not going to make it. Like, if you haven't shown anything by the end of your second year, you don't go. If you're going into your third year thinking, man, this is their year, they got to prove it. If they have to prove it in their third year, they're going to be done, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Typically, yes.
Yes. So here's the curse of the second year, though. I think there was a period, and I'm going to say from like 2000 all the way to like 2020, where there was a run of second or third year coaches winning national championships or playing for one or being in the running in December. That was so unprecedented. I think everybody thought you should do that by your second year. And I can just go through it with Bob Stoops winning it his second year in 2000. Larry Coker wins it his first year in 2001. Pete Carroll wins it his third year in 2003. Urban Meyer his second year in 2006. Les Miles his third year in 2007. Nick Saban was competing for one his second year in 2008 and won one his third year in 2009. Gene Chisholm won one his second year in 2010. You guys get the gist of where I'm going on this. I mean, it kept happening. But that's not the way that's not how every coach building a program is going to do it. Kirby Smart played for a national title his second year. He didn't get back to the national title game or even the college football playoff until 4 years later. Honestly.
And I didn't feel like he was close in that second year to Alabama yet. Would you agree with that?
You mean Nick Saban, his second year at Alabama?
No, I didn't think Kirby Smart. You said Kirby Smart played for...
He played for a national... I mean, he did almost win that game. He should have won that game, but...
Yeah, no, I give him credit for that. But I still thought Alabama's roster was considerably better top to bottom.
Yes, I agree with you on that. Kirby Smart Jalen Hurts was not a good fit for Kirby Smart's defense. They throw in Tua Tagovailoa. Kirby Smart just got torched by Tua in that game. I guess the point I'm getting at, guys, is look, it's really hard to win a national title. It's certainly hard to be in contention when you're undermanned, and nobody took over a bigger mess that everybody we just named. None of them took over the mess Josh Heupel took over. Even Nick Saban. And Dave, I know there's some debate over like, oh, Nick Saban inherited a terrible situation in 2007. He did not inherit what Josh Heupel inherited in 2021. I would rather take what Nick Saban had at Alabama in 2007 than Josh Heupel at Tennessee in 2021.
If Josh Heupel was hired in January of 2021, and I said at some point over the next 4 years, you're going to be ranked the #1 team in the nation, you're going to be close to making a 14 playoff, and you're going to be in great position to make a 12-team playoff because of wins, consecutive wins over Florida and Alabama. Plus, you don't have off-field issues. Who in the world wouldn't have taken that?
No, you're right. I mean, I would absolutely take that. And you are so right on the off-field issues. That's not talked about enough, is it?
No.
Quite honestly.
No. I mean, they could have things melting down right now in Georgia, and it has nothing to do with football. I tell you what, you have got to check out our guys at Peak IV Hydration, South Knoxville and Sevierville. If we can drop that link in the message box, I would appreciate it. Live life to the fullest. Hydrate, rejuvenate, and elevate your health with Peak IV Hydration. And if you can't get to their locations in South Knoxville, you can order the patch online. It is awesome. And yes, Harbaugh was a cheater as well to get to that record. Listen, you're talking about Josh Heupel putting together a championship resume. He just doesn't have the ring yet.